Hi and welcome to the Financial Fox. This is Steffi and today I want to focus on a subject that I don't usually discuss on our channel, but it's also very important to understand the state of the crypto space, which is cybercrime. And I'm gonna get some insight from our guest, VIP of investigation at Chainalysis, Erin Plante. Now, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button now and follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. And also any comment or feedback, don't hesitate to send an email to me at steffi@financialfox.news or add your comment in the comment section of the YouTube channel and I will get back to you. Now, let's get into the interview. Hi, Erin, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic really to have you on the show because something that usually I don't cover, but I think is very important is cybercrime. And that's obviously is the topic that is your topic, is the topic of Chainalysis. And, I would like to discuss that with you today. But maybe before we start, if you can maybe just share a little bit about yourself, what do you do at Chainalysis and what Chainalysis is, because I'm sure the name, came up a lot, especially if you are in crypto. So then we can kind of like clarify a few actors.
Yeah, absolutely. Chainalysis is a blockchain intelligence company, and we work closely with public and private sector companies handling compliance and investigation as it relates to crypto activity. So this time of year, we put out our crypto crime report, which looks back on the previous year and analyzes the illicit crypto activity from that year. My role at Chainalysis is as the VP of investigations. So I lead a team of over 100 investigators who are based around the world and deal with illicit crypto activity all day long.
Right, that's a fantastic topic to discuss right now. So let's so you said the report is going to look back last year, right? So maybe you can share a little bit of some insight on what's happened last year in terms of like illicit activity. Obviously, we saw the problem with FTX and Celsius before, Triaro Capital. So it was kind of like a very interesting year for the crypto space. But what the data are telling you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple different trends that we've seen looking back in the year. One is that we've seen a significant increase in hacking of crypto platforms. So there's been over $3.5 billion stolen from crypto platforms, and that's a huge increase from previous years. So we've been tracking this really closely and working with the crypto companies themselves to try to protect themselves from these events, as well as the regulators and public sector agencies to tackle some of this illicit activity. That's a major trend that we've seen increasing in the past year. Another trend that is interesting is that we've seen the volume of ransomware payments decrease quite significantly. In the 2020 and 2021, the volume of ransomware payments was very high. And so a lot of our crypto crime reports centered around ransomware as a major threat. And there was a significant effort by regulators, national security agencies globally to tackle this threat. And we do see a quite significant decrease in ransomware payments in 2022, which is a good trend. And as you mentioned, FTX, Three Arrow Capital's, some of the bankruptcies, these are due to the overall bear market that's occurring in crypto, but also across all tech stock and the market as a whole. We've seen the economy kind of take a hit this year. inflation high globally, a lot of external factors that are harmful to the economy, and with that, the Bitcoin price and crypto price follows the tech stock market and the stock market as a whole. So we've seen those prices decline, and that puts a lot of pressure on companies like FTX and Three Arrow Capitals and other crypto platforms. So we've seen some collapses that they've triggered a bit of a domino effect. When one collapses, then you see others collapse because there is co-investment across the space. FTX is obviously quite unusual as well because there's fraud charges against the founder and other charges against the founder and CEO of the exchange.
I know that you analyze on-chain data. So is there a way that possible to link on-chain data to off-chain data to get a better picture, or is something that you're working on, or there is kind of way to link both of them?
We do look at on-chain data combined with off-chain data. There's the data that we combine it is data that's either open source intelligence, so it exists in open source spaces, or comes from other data providers that gather data for the purposes of intelligence. What we don't have access to and what the community as a whole wouldn't have access to are the internal accounting systems of these crypto platforms. So there's a lot of speculation around companies that may be at risk based on declining prices and things like that. And there's been quite a bit of conversation on Twitter and other places about the need for some exchanges to show proof of reserves and things like that. But you really don't have any insight into what's happening behind the scenes and within these institutions themselves to be able to say whether a company is financially healthy or not. So for the most part, that is speculatory on Twitter. However, what we do look at are all of the open source external data and external factors like overall market data, any open source intelligence, and data that's gathered through those mechanisms.
So if we look at the status of the cybercrime space, how do you say the space has evolved from the bull market that we had in 2020, 2021 to a bear market, or maybe it's kind of like more 2022? And then leading, this year we still have to see where we are going to go. But, how the data are changing from a bull market to a bear market, if there are some kind of trends that people should know about it.
There's really an increase in people trying to take advantage of the system, whether they're state-sponsored hackers, like we've seen an increase in the Lazarus Group and some state-sponsored hacking groups. Going after the innovations in the market. So there's been significant hits on DeFi platforms. Bridges have seen a significant impact from hacks. And these are evolving and innovative spaces that the general kind of newness of this technology is providing an opportunity for these hacking groups to take advantage and steal funds. There's also an increase in the general themes around scams and money being stolen from platforms and individuals, which also somewhat comes to the increasing evolution of the space and the innovations in the space. The bankruptcies and the liquidations themselves due to the bear market are continuing to impact the prices of cryptocurrency as we're seeing, and have these ripple effects on the cryptocurrency platforms themselves.
So if we focus a little bit more on crypto scams, maybe help me to kind of expand a little bit more on the terms, because crypto scam cover a lot of activities. So what are those crypto scams?
Yeah, absolutely. The crypto space, because it's a new technology and there's ever evolving new mechanisms being built on blockchains, you have things like the emergence of NFTs. NFTs became increasingly popular. So whenever you have a new technology that's getting adopted rapidly and there's a lot of development in the space, you have increasing opportunities for scammers and criminals to exploit that technology and look for ways that they can gain in an illicit manner. So NFTs, for example, we've seen rug pulls and things of that nature. Rug pulls are a scam that typically are dealing with NFTs, where there's a project that's hyped on social media and investors are thought to be investing in this project and they think they're going to benefit financially from that investment, but ultimately the project is a scam and the people behind the project is a scam, so the investors lose their money. And those are the types of things that we'll see pretty regularly, which is expected when there's new technology and new innovations coming out as quickly as you see in the blockchain space. You have the people on the other side that are trying to exploit it. So that's where we're fitting in, trying to point out that activity, trying to stop that activity from occurring and protect the space as a whole.
So what would you say are the red flags for a crypto scam if we are talking, let's say, about an NFT project which just you mentioned?
For individuals themselves, research, knowing what you're investing in and knowing what you're dealing in and what your the parties that you're working with. Social media is more prevalent in these types of innovations than really any other financial mechanism. You don't often see social media as having such a large impact in these projects. But in the Web3 space, in the blockchain and crypto space, you absolutely do. So NFT projects, for example, get hyped on social media, and the investments are public. And so they can see other investors making, putting money towards it. And you can see the value increasing because the nature of blockchains is that it is public. And so that hype is building a lot of these scams. And then social media as a whole allows people to communicate directly. So people can pose as somebody else or can pose as a legitimate person or legitimate investor, and they can go after individuals to scam them out of their money. So you definitely see social media as a bit of a red flag, and people looking to make money off of something and maybe not fully understanding the technology behind it or the individuals behind it and choosing to invest, which can lead to consequences.
So basically, be aware of the social media hype. Well, first of all, I would say just know the people behind the project personally. So if they are like anonymous, then it's probably a very big, maybe a black flag. I don't know how to call it.
Yes.
But
Yes, no, that's a good term. Exactly.
is there anything about maybe the way the connection is built, the way that the NFT project is released that you would say, or maybe, the investor behind is something else that could be a red flag?
There are a lot of open source tools and publicly available tools that you can research into a project. So there are, as the criminals expand and grow, the protectors of the space also expand and grow. So there are ways that you can search for addresses associated with a project or search for a project itself and do research and help to identify who is behind those, what are the reasons to benefit from it and to invest in something. There's also a number of sites that are tracking scams and tracking illicit actors. So like you would with most investments, doing a bit of due diligence using the tools that are available is going to benefit tremendously.
Is there any, can you share some of these names? Obviously, Chainalysis is one. Is there any other sites that you would recommend for people to do their own due diligence to go and check out?
Yeah, any block explorer websites are going to show a lot of information about activity occurring on the blockchains, and you'll be able to look at addresses associated with a project and look for previous activity and other activity. Those types of platforms. There's a number of Telegram groups, and Twitter as well is very vocal about scams and alerting others, just in the way it's sometimes used to attract individuals to scam. It's also very vocal about pointing out scams that are out there.
Okay, if we move to the topic of ransomware, you said that payments are coming down and are at the lowest level. So let's just first of all define the concept of ransomware, and then we can maybe explain why this is going down, and maybe maybe there are other scams or other crimes that are going to become more popular rather than ransomware.
So ransomware is a type of malware that gets deployed on somebody's computer and locks up their machine. So the targets are sometimes individuals, but it's often a company. And so one computer can be exposed to that malware, and then it infects the entire network, and the entire network gets locked up. So the people that own the malware and are in control of the malware will then ask for a ransom to be paid, and that ransom is paid in order for their files to be unlocked. And a lot of the stories that we've seen and are in the news, they're quite significant attacks. So they're taking down a major company and basically taking those companies out of business for a series of days, which can have a significant impact. We see schools, we see hospitals. In the news last year was Colonial Pipeline, which had a major impact in the United States. And these ransomware groups make a lot of money off of the ransom that's been paid. There's also something that's called ransomware as a service. So the individuals that are actually building the malware and deploying the malware, they're essentially licensing that malware for others to use, which makes it really easy for individuals to launch a ransomware attack because they don't have to build the code themselves. They don't have to have any of the infrastructure themselves. They can simply license it, deploy an attack, and then they pay a percentage of their money to.
Horrible. This is also, so how do they manage to install the ransomware? Because I know there are lots of phishing email. That's usually the most popular stuff. But what about connecting maybe to a Wi-Fi? I don't know what people should know just to be downloading attachment. That was another one that you need to be careful of.
Unfortunately, it usually does come through downloading a file or accessing a file that is infected with malware. So it's something that can come in through a single machine on a network and take down the entire network, which is what we see happen.
Okay, so just be careful. It's the same things. Know the source, know the people behind it, know that you are having a conversation with somebody. But can that happen accessing a Google Drive as well?
If you're accessing any site that is not the legitimate site. So phishing occurs in that way often as well for your password. Is you might get a phishing email that looks like Google Drive, it looks like it's coming from Google, and it's asking you to click on something and enter your credentials. That's not installing malware, but that's potentially getting your credentials. So both are deployed through that type of trust that you think your messages that you're getting and your email, your text messages are legitimate. So just looking for signs that a file or an email or any kind of message that you're receiving is not truly from the sender. So I'm always telling, people that I speak to, if you get something that looks like it comes from Google and ask that you click on a link, don't click on the link in the email. Go to Google themselves. If it's saying, we need to verify your credentials or we need to change your password, rather than clicking on the link, just go to Google and change your password directly, because then it's directly their site. But malware can be installed on any file that's infected or any website that's infected. So it can also come through software updates and things of that nature, which are more sophisticated. And there's been a lot of focus in the regulator and law enforcement space, as well as the technology space, to stop ransomware, because it has become such a threat.
I was just going to come to that just to close up the interview. So, are you doing lots of work with regulators? Can regulation actually help to, kill or maybe limit the cybercrime and all these bad actors in the crypto space, which is not good? It's not really good for new technology. They are trying to change the world, and they are already getting challenged because they are very early.
Regulation can absolutely help to protect the space. As with all crime, it's not an appealing crime if you can't benefit from it financially. So if these scammers and these ransomware actors and these hackers can't cash out their illicit funds, it's going to become far less appealing for them to engage in that illicit activity. So there's been a major crackdown on illicit activity as a whole and being able to cash out those illicit funds. And that cash out point becomes really important, because if you can stop these criminals from taking their legal money and going and buying a car or a house or something that they want of value with that money, it's going to be far less appealing for them to engage in the activity.
Okay, Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show. And anybody that is interested in learning about the data that Chainalysis is sharing, where should they go?
They can go to our website. They can go to our LinkedIn or our Twitter feed and get a whole lot of information about Chainalysis and the Crypto Crime Report, which is being released this month.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.